That struck me rather odd to take back just a lump of rock at Dartmoor. Well, surely somebody would give them something better than that. And that started me thinking. And I eventually got round to, well, trying to make a few things, which was very difficult because nobody would show you or tell you anything in those days. And it was all trial and error to start with. But once I got going, it seemed to turn out all right. I think the gnomes must have helped me because they seemed to go in the right direction.
True to the tradition of family businesses, grandson Michael shares the workload and the trade secrets. In this case, the proportions of sand and cement in the concrete that can almost be described as simulated stone. But it's Ken himself who inserts each gnomic barbed wire backbone. Here, the processes are rustic rather than rusty. Since 1947, Ken has made all his 400 moulds, and when output is at its maximum, 100 gnomes are produced each day, selling for £1.50 to £60 and going as far afield as Canada and Australia. There must be no rough edges on a Ken Ruth gnome, all of whom must have smiles as they line up for the Dulux. No sprays, no solvents and no high-tech for Rosie Partridge. But despite all this craftsmanship, gnomes are still looked down on, laughed at, mocked even.
I think in some circles they are, but I think that's quite unjustified, given that for instance, one recently sold for £4,000. That's very serious money. I don't believe £4,000 is a joke. I also feel that simply because people in a neoclassical tradition collected classical sculpture in the 18th century, and people in a Gothic, Middle-aged, Middle European concept collected garden gnomes in the 19th century, I don't think that because there's one culture rather than another giving rise to these creatures, that one should look down on them. After all, the Houses of Parliament were built in Gothic style rather than neoclassical at about the time that Sir Charles Isham introduced the garden gnome. And I think you must put garden gnomes, the introduction of garden gnomes into this country against that sort of background. The introduction of such traditions as Christmas from Middle Europe. The introduction of fairy tales such as Snow White and the Seven Gnomes, most people call the Seven Dwarves. I think against that sort of cultural background, I do feel that garden gnomes have a place in not perhaps serious art history, but certainly as a serious area of collection.
International Gnome Day at Lamport Hall, the annual red letter day in the gnome calendar, not to be missed by enthusiasts who came in their droves and travelled in style. It's an indulgence for those who want to make believe, and it's an escape for others. But from what?
In the real world, I'm the superintendent radiographer at the Christie Hospital in Manchester, which is the largest cancer treating institute in Europe.
Well, can I in that case ask you what on earth you're doing dressed up as a gnome?
Yes, it's my alter ego. Obviously, cancer treatments are improving a lot, and whereas a cancer hospital is no longer the terrible place it used to be, there is sufficient much of the nasty side of life seen there to make it pleasant to be able to escape into the pleasant side of life, such as this.
Curiously British, the gnome syndrome, it seems, afflicts people of all ages, from all walks of life. Now meet kidnap victim and tourist extraordinary Bobby Barwick, alias Mr. Super Gnome from Weston Super Mare.
You went to Italy, Greece, Germany, Holland, all around those areas, you know. And then when he came back through Paris, Monte Carlo, lovely places.
So what happened? How did he come back?
Well, he just arrived on our doorstep back in May.
With just himself or a note?
No, packet of photographs. The photographs here, what we're taking of him. And his sunglasses and the survival kit.
Are you a serious gnome collector?
Very.
Can you tell me about your collection?
Ranges up to about 1,000, I think I've got now. I'll try to keep it as near to the old-fashioned ones as possible.
So you collect serious gnomes?
Yes.
It's not a joke?
No, definitely not.
Do people ever treat you as something of a nutter for collecting so many
yes,
gnomes?
frequently, all my life.
It's a nice joke, isn't it? It's good.
Mindful of the fact that at the last census the gnome population of this country was 5 million, we asked Dr. Trevor Turner, a consultant psychiatrist from St Bartholomew's Hospital in London, to take a look at this strange cult and the attitudes of mind affected by, or maybe even afflicted with it.
It's the wrong road. I would not regard people as being mad because they collect gnomes. Obviously, anything taken to an extreme can be evidence of being, shall we say, rather high or even manic, or having a bad memory, for example. But generally speaking, the actual business of having